Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's the 18th of November, and it's almost 11 p.m. I just happened to, I usually check it, but I don't always remember to check it, and that's um, let me show you that. Let me minimize this just so you'll get a good view of it here. Um, See the microphone down there. The graph is responding correctly. And I just a few minutes ago, I was getting ready to make this video, and I checked that, and it wasn't responding as well as it should, not instantly. And I've noticed that when that happens, when that shows up that way, maybe I lose a little bit. So I need to check. I need to have a checklist, and that's one thing I need to check every time. Anyway, I did check it this time. So, oops, let me drag this over here and drag this over here. Okay. Remember, I purchased these shoes from Amazon, and I really didn't, I was having to guess at my shoe size. Well, my legs are swollen. My feet are swollen, and it makes it made it difficult. I could, by unlacing those and pulling the laces out and cramming my foot in there, my feet, I guess I should say, and I could walk definitely better than the other things that I was using that I showed you once or twice. So those were a little bit better, but I was worried, and I'm still worried. But anyway, I got these in today, the next size up from those others. And you can see here the lacing is all the way. I didn't have to take the lacing halfway down in them. And I can walk better with them. But what I have to watch, I don't have good circulation in my legs and feet. And what I'm concerned about is it rubbing on me and then getting a blister or getting something that, and an infection. I got an infection from my leg being scraped by a bed frame. Small scrape. It wouldn't be anything that you would, really be concerned. Well, some people would be concerned about everything, but it didn't, wasn't a lance into my bone or something rather, but I ended up 7 or 8 days in the hospital. And then when I was at the hospital, they put a catheter in me. Oh, God. And then, of course, I have urinary problems of, urinating and that type of stuff. And I deal with it without making it a big deal. Of course, people should, their medical condition, you should, make big deals out of it. But I don't, because I'm a man. I'm not a sissy, And so that leg got infected and it shouldn't have, but I didn't have good circulation down there. Then they put a catheter in me, and I'm not urine. I knew I wasn't, and I thought that I gave them a list of all my medicines, and I thought that they were going to keep me on the medicine that helped me urinate a little bit better. And then when the numbers started going, bad, you know, um, then they said, well, you need to see I forget if it was a kidney doctor or whatever. And then my Hillary was there, my daughter, and she asked some questions and stuff. And then she heard, talking about kidney, or was it liver? Can't remember. Doesn't matter. But that it looked bad. It looks bad. And we're going to have some more testing done. We have to do this and do that. And then I said, well, yeah, okay, I know I don't urinate the way I should, but why aren't the was there for 7 days or 8, and you know how the hospitals, if you've been in the hospital, I hope you haven't been in the hospital, but if you need to go, I hope you're in. But you know how they want to know how much you drank, and they want to know that did you eat all your food, and that kind of stuff. And of course, they were picking my food up, and I wasn't able to eat any of the food because of the medicine I was taking or something. I couldn't even Jello. When I wasn't able to eat anything, and of course they bring you Jello, and I would, in the beginning I took a scoop, of Jello. Yuck! I spit it out, and I thought, well, I can take, I wasn't eating anything for that time, and finally I left the hospital, AMA, against medical advice, and like I mentioned before, I worked 30 years hospital security, and one of the things I had to deal with was people leaving AMA or people wanting to leave AMA, and I had to go through the whole thing. And with the nurses, a lot of times, I was security, and the nurses would be telling the people, you can't leave here. Security is here. You can't leave. And then I'd have to ask some questions, and then I'd have to say, no, they can leave. And so I've been through all that entire thing, except after doing that for 30 years when I was at this hospital here in Fort Worth. And then I said, I'm leaving AMA. Bring me the form and I will sign it. And then I said, okay, now there's one medicine that I've been taking, the big one, an expensive one. I forget what it was. I forget it was 5,000 an injection or 5,000 a day or whatever it was. It was, but I had insurance. I have insurance. But I said, oh, and by that way, the day that I decided to leave, the urologist or whatever, a couple had come through, but when this guy, came through, I said to the urologist, I said, doctor, where do you have an office? Is it in West Fort Worth? And he says, yes, it is. And I said, will you be my doctor? And he says, yes, I will. He says, I'll write it in the chart and, tell the nurse and whatever. And so I asked, so it was right after that, though, I decided to leave AMA because of the way things were going. And so then I've decided to leave AMA. And remember, I worked hospital security 30 years, and I was involved in a whole bunch of people leaving against medical advice, and I had to, deal with the nurses, and I had to deal with the patients. And the nurses a lot of times were wrong, and I was right. And well, I hope I was always right. But so anyway, I said, okay, I'm leaving AMA, and okay, I signed a paper, you know. And then I said, okay, I need the medicine that I'm taking. I need to know what that is. Well, we don't give you any information. I said, you're not giving me the name of the medicine that I'm taking? I said, the doctor who just came through a while ago, he should have given me a card, but I got it anyway. I said, what's his, we don't give you any information. And then I said, you know, I worked hospital security for 30 years, and I have, you know, had to deal with, you know, Joint Commission inspections and all kinds of things. And I said, I never heard of a hospital refusing to give you information about what you're, you know, whatever. And he said, yeah, we don't. But I was a nice guy about the whole thing. Of course, I went home, and because I'm on the computer and because I have insurance or whatever, I logged in, and there was the name of everything was there on the charts, you know, and I had access to it. Nothing, it wasn't anything nefarious. You should have access to all that information too when you have a doctor. And so, how did I get on this subject? God only knows. Oh, I think maybe where I was heading, Hillary was there, and well, before that, before I left, like it was, I don't know if that the day before that or whatever, but then that's when that information was turning up, you know, that I wasn't eating anything at all, zero, not even Jello, and all that kind of stuff. And then Hillary, my daughter, you know, when she left, she came here where my ex-wife, we share the apartment and my grown son. But she came here, and I found out she was crying, you know, that my kidneys were, you know, shutting down, or I forget what all. She interpreted it as being, you know, hey, this isn't good. Okay, now it's okay. I just said this isn't good, but I don't think you heard that. But okay, the microphone is responding again. So bummer. It's I would have to try to make these videos with my cell phone, which I don't think would work very well. You know, it could work for a lot of people. I mean, but I don't think it would work for me. And I do have in fact, it's right here. Samsung Chromebook. And I mentioned this the other day. I don't think the battery's charged up. Let's see if it is. I don't even know where the on and off switch is. I think that's it. Yeah, I think the battery's not charged up. I could try to make, you know, the videos on YouTube, and I have done that. I could probably make that work, but not well. Because one thing I wouldn't have availability probably to Manicam that I'm using. On the Chrome operating system, I'm not sure if OBS would work. Maybe it would. what I'd really like to do is, well, I'd like to have a bigger, better, more powerful thing that I could, so Windows, you know. This is running Windows, by the way. But it's, you know, a $225 refurbished, you know, Dell computer that was used in some businesses for, you know, for, um, um, so cross your fingers that this thing's going to hold up for me. I mean, and I think most of you know, okay, there may be a glitch or sometimes something. We'll make it okay with right now with this. See what else is going on. I don't think I mentioned that I moved the Verizon. It's right over here now. Oh, there it is. You can see it. Oops, I touched it. I've switched it around quite a few times, but this is where it's going to stay. And I actually get sometimes I have 3 bars on this thing, which is the maximum that you can get. And in the past, I moved it right by the other side where the antenna is supposed to be, you know, someplace down that way. And sometimes I got 3. But here I get 3 just sitting on this desk right here. And, you know, like the window's over there, but of course that's not a window, you know, because the antenna tower that is being used is not there. It's on this other side of the house. So this seems to be the place for it. Unfortunately, I have to have the telephone equipment because it needs access to, you know, being able to be plugged into the, and I don't even want this telephone equipment in here. When I get the chance, I'm going to shorten up the cables and get the phone equipment, you know, and make some room here. I always regret it, but I want to, again, run Linux. I'm not sure which version of Linux that I want to run. I've run them all, I think, just about in the past. But I'm, because I can't remember, but I can ask, what's his name? In Holland, I forget his name. Oh man, it's terrible to get old. I wonder if you people are going to be watching, you know, my videos a year or 2 or 3 from now, and then it's going to be, man, you know, his, you know, his mind is gone. So, yeah, there was one version. He just went to a new version. What's it called? And I have never heard that one before, of Linux. But there was one, I'm not sure if it was Mint or what it was, that I really liked the looks of it. But I got a feeling what I'll do is, what I usually is revert to Ubuntu, the latest version. So that's probably what but I would like to, in fact, I'd like to have a computer over here running Linux. And, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So anyway, where are we now? Let's go to, let's go to here and go to, let's go to Amazon. You know, that's interesting. I mean, I like it that you know, Amazon knows what I'm looking at, and um, I think, actually, I think for like Linux, I've got three right now, or is it two? I think three monitors that I'm not using, but they're really not. I mean, and two of them are nice. Well, all three are kind of nice, but what I'd like to do is, well, one reason because they'd be inexpensive. Um, by the way, this is one of the monitors that I'm using now. No, it isn't. I don't think that's not. I own it. I mean, it must be in the closet. I used that off and on for quite a while, and I didn't really realize how good it was till I. But oh, you're not looking at. Sorry. Um, I think what I'd like to do is get an inexpensive computer, run Linux on it, and a doesn't have to be a 27-inch monitor. In fact, I was looking at um, I'm not into games at all, but I would like to have something with 100 and, 147 frames per second or something, rather than. Uh, Now here's a monitor I apparently was looking at earlier. Yeah, a 24-inch monitor, and that'd be perfectly fine with me. I'm not into game playing, and you know, 1920 by 1080, that's perfectly fine. 144, hertz, 165 hertz, um, and only $130. I don't have 130 right now. Well, I do have, but I have to uh, pay it all out. I mean, But okay, well now this one I guess reject because it has 4.5 stars. Um, but I did read some of the reviews and things. And there's one for $99. Well, okay, now this would be something I'd consider. I never heard of the brand though, but it has 5.5 stars, 27-inch. Okay, of course that's only 75. Of course, I mean I don't need 75 or 100, because I'm not going to be playing any games. I think though this is the one that they send you the, what is it, there's no a display port adapter. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe that's not the one. Let's go back here. 27-inch, 27-inch. I have a bunch of LG monitors. Then what was the monitor that I have that is actually so nice? LG. These are both LG here in front of me. Oh, okay. That's the. That's the one that broke. Probably my nicest monitor, and that's the one that I was sitting here, but trying to get shoes on. And I was saying, in order to get them on, I had to turn my chair like this, and then I was scooted up towards so I could reach my feet, and that type of stuff. And then I was leaning back, or the chair started going back, and it went over and I went over all the way, and I smashed a really good monitor. But I have a bunch of monitors, but let's go to my wish list. I don't think there's anything in it because I just purchased, let's see, gift list. This is a thing you could click on and okay, there's just 2 items on there because I purchased the rest today, the stuff that was there. But I am going to get one of these I talked about it, I think the previous video I talked about the flashlights I carried. That's a super powerful light. And I think, in fact, I just went after it was dark, which I really shouldn't do with my vision problem right now. And be better when I can see. And I guess that's going to be in January when I'm having cataract surgery on each eye. It's separate times, and by the way, when I was coming back, I went to Taco Casa. I picked up some food for all of us. And when I was coming back, well, going down it was dark, and coming back it was dark. And there was a guy in a wheelchair coming, and it was dark, and he had to get out off of the sidewalk for a ways, and because there's a bunch of mud there and whatever. I just walked around on the grass a little bit. But he didn't have any lights on it was hard to see him. And I thought, man, he needs some lights. And there's some you can get really cheap that are LED flashing lights or whatever. And he wouldn't have to leave them on. He could just put them on, or maybe he could wear one or do something. Because anyway, this here is, I'd carry it at night. I would have a holster on that comes with it, I think, and I'd keep it in there, and then I'd turn it on so people know I'm out there. That guy needs some. He's in really, I'd be worried if I was him. Oh, my new shoes. I'm reminded by it because I have my I got the next size up, and the other size was working, but I got the next size up. But I noticed when I got back from the Taco Casa place, there were some ridges into my top of my left foot that is so enlarged. And so I don't want to end up back in the hospital with an infection on my leg. Now this I like these. I mentioned this, I think, in a video yesterday or the day before. I like these small mini PCs. One, they're cheap, and did I put that on my list? I think that's on my list. Well, I'll just click it. If it's on my list, it won't add it again. Oh, it's already on the list. And I think what I might do with that is maybe put Linux, or maybe do dual boot. Over the years, I've had some trouble with dual boots because of me doing something simple. I mean, something stupid. Well, simple and stupid. Okay, I've been talking 30 minutes. I think that's long enough. The one thing I do want to do is go here and okay. Jim telling stories for 1 hour. That's my video from 23 hours ago. 75 views. That's pretty good for me. The video 1 day ago, Microsoft's upgrade, 114 views. That's okay. My views per day are up a little bit. Oh, I am back on Facebook and it's working, but I need to go in, and I don't think I've found any of the people who used to be, ex-girlfriends and people I worked with at different hospitals in different cities and, all that kind of stuff. So this up here, oops, oh, I see. Okay, I won't put the mouse on it, but the one that's green. Many years ago, I was in a chat with some guy, and he was in Switzerland, and he was a computer designer or something like that. And he said something about, he was looking at my site and saying, well, you don't have such and such. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm not good at stuff like that, making stuff like that. I'll get around to it. And he said, well, that's what I do. And so he was talking to me all the time. And he said, and I don't know how much information I was able to give him, what color do you like or whatever. And then, okay, what's the name of it? Howard's Notebook. Okay. Then he said, do you have any pictures? And I said, well, yeah, I got a whole bunch, but they're spread all over the place or whatever. And he said, well, send me some. And so now this is all happening in a very short period of time. And then he pops, I forget what he showed me, he pops up something. And then he says, oh, wait a minute. And then he goes back and he pops up something. Maybe I replaced a picture or two, oh, how about this? And he made that for me for free in a very short period of time. I wish I could do stuff like that, but I lack talent in that area. Well, I lack talent in any area. Jim, don't tell him all our secrets. Anyway, I'd show you this thing full screen if I could remember where it is, but here I am as a bait. Well, I can't put it on there. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, come on. I wonder if I could show it to you. Let's see. Where would it be? Okay, it's showing up now, right? Okay. Top left picture of me as a baby. Then there is the next picture on the right of it there. I'm at on my tricycle out in California. And I think I'm below that. I think I'm on my tricycle. When World War II ended and we left California, I've mentioned this. Think of Rosebud. Rosebud. I told Jim and Betty, that's what I called them. Be sure and put my tricycle in the car, Then we got in the car, it's in the car. And I said, well, are you sure it's in the car? Oh yeah, I got, they knew it wasn't in the car. They didn't have room for it or something. Rosebud. Then there is the lower left-hand corner. If it looks like I'm a fairy or a whatever, I was in a play at school. Old King Cole called for his pipe and his bowl, and I brought him his bowl. Not a, you know, but a bowl for drinking from. I wonder if the nuns got that correct. And the picture next to it is me and with my cowboy little thing on and my cap gun or whatever. And the next picture, that's where I'm very white or whatever, is like one of these things from. And the next picture is, I think, a pretty good one of me. And then there's another picture of me, and I can't tell much by it. And then there's one where I'm waving, probably waving help, help. Okay, 36 minutes. That's long enough. Thanks very much for watching.